Oh my gosh. All right. Kojo just popped on. And listen, Kojo, I didn't want you to miss your introduction. I mean, you have earned multiple awards and recognition. One of my favorite facts is that you sold out the Houston Rodeo before you even signed a label deal. I grew up with you. I grew up in Texas. So I know what Kojo is. Thank you for joining us on our FIT with the Zoom session today.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much. That's the coolest introduction I've had all day.
And you know why, dude? Are you ready for this, Cody? Because I'm from Bowie, Texas.
Come on. I see your hat.
That's right. So, first of all, nice to chat with you, dude. Man, has it been a crazy time for you or what with the coronavirus?
Man, I'm having a little bit of a hard time. There's a big echo whenever you're talking, coming back to me.
Okay, we got a big echo. Are you muted over there?
I am unmuted and my volume's off.
All right, hang on. We're going to take care.
It's on his end.
What about now,
I definitely don't know how to fix it.
All right, well then I'll go real slow.
Good.
And I'll let them get to.
You want to come over and use my computer?
Yeah, let me do that.
You sound good now. You sound good now.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, you sound fine.
All right, well that'll work.
What was the question again? Sorry about that.
First of all, I would love to know, growing up in Texas like I did, I mean, you are huge when it comes to Texas country, the Texas red dirt scene. Tell me what the transition was like whenever you decided to take the CODY Johnson brand nationwide.
I'm not sure how this is supposed to sound, but there really wasn't much of a transition. I think that the general model for somebody that goes to Nashville, and this is, these are the old school guys. Like I've had this conversation with Tracy Bird. Back in the day, it was, go to Nashville, get discovered, you get a record deal, and then you get singles on the radio, and then you get the band, and you go on tour, and you develop fans. And that was just not the way it played out for me. I kind of did it the complete opposite way of not really growing up in an area where there was this buzz. People like from Kentucky, well, I'm going to drive to Nashville. Well, that wasn't the way I was raised. It was kind of like just go out and play in all the honky tonks and develop something. And, by the time we got to the point where I felt like, and my manager felt like that I was musically mature enough to get a record deal, I think we'd already had so much established and so much developed from, 10 plus years of hard work that the transition for me wasn't really a transition. It was more of a partnership. And the reason why we're with Warner Nashville is because they were the only label in town that didn't want me to take my hat off or change producers or change the way I looked or sounded. They were very much open arms saying, look, we know that you know who you are musically and as a person. We want to be in the business. We feel like we can grow you to a bigger audience and not change anything. And that's a huge, huge, huge thing for me.
Yeah, thank you for answering that. Plus, do you feel that you have brought sort of your not only the Kojo sound, but Texas country to a mainstream audience? I mean, you mentioned before, you said, hey, Miranda is from Texas, George is from, Zach Brown is from the state of Georgia. Maybe Zach Brown has brought the Georgia sound to country. Would you feel that's what you're doing with the sound of Texas?
Well, I'd like to think so. I'd like to hope so anyway. There's a lot of, if you listen to my music, there's a lot of influences. Like, obviously you can hear Chris Ledoux, Garth Brooks, George Strait. You can hear that side. Maybe some Charlie Daniels. But if you really listen close enough, there is those Pat Green, Corey Morrow, Cooter Grawl raised, Roger Creager, that sound of grassroots Texas that came from guys like Willie and Waylon and Robert Earl Keen and Jerry Jeff Walker and the kind of the forefathers of Texas country music. And I don't know that I could get away from that. I think that sticks with me as much as the hat. It's something I'm not ever going to get away from. And I would like to think I brought that influence because I feel like it's a very underrated genre. It's a very underrated and underappreciated genre for the last 20 years. And I think that my goal has always been to be the guy from Texas, to get the opportunity to grow outside of Texas, outside of the United States, and not change. And I think that's a huge bridge I would rather cross and help build rather than burn.
We have so many fans who have a question for you in just a moment. And you have pounded the pavement over the years. For years, you've put miles on the road, performing, building your brand, building a fan. Is it different now for someone starting in country music in 2020 to try to get noticed or get a label? Do they still have to do the same thing, or do they just have to put out a video on social media? What advice would you give to a new country artist?
I mean, go to college. No, you know, I think it's to each his own. I'm not in that generation. I'm outside that generational gap of. I pay attention to social media. I have not logged on to social media in over 10 years. I don't.
Wow.
I barely watch the news. I'm very disconnected from the world on purpose. And I think for a guy like me, the only way to do it was to go out. And, you know, at the beginning, we didn't have the first. Does anybody remember MySpace? Does anybody remember MySpace?
Yeah. The top
MySpace
8
was like the coolest thing ever. And I thought, you know, this could be a way to reach people. And I didn't realize that it was going to grow to the type of connection you can make with people like this. I had never pictured in my wildest dream doing something like this in my career, let alone having our music streamed over 1 billion times. That's huge. So I think that the opportunity is greater for new artists now to utilize more social media and utilize more platforms for exposure. But I'm going to be honest with you, man. There ain't nothing like sitting down and hearing somebody play just them and the acoustic guitar to really know, do you really have it? You know what I mean? And are you really cut out for it? And there's something to be said for all those miles traveling down the road. It separates the men from the boys.
Cody, whenever you know, or it could be the state of Texas or Nashville. Whenever you started in the industry, you know, let's focus this specifically on Nashville. Whenever you took your music, what they would consider mainstream, who was nice to you from day one and said, "Hey, Cody, welcome to town, dude. I love what you're doing. If you need anything, give me a call." Who was that person to you?
That was probably Tim Dubois. You know, my manager and my now producer Trent Willman and our friend Scott Gunner. You know, we had our own little circle going, and they were introducing me to a lot of people. But Tim Dubois was probably the nicest guy to me in town. That was the head of an organization. Other than that, I would say maybe Kim Wiggins. And she was with one company back then. She's with a different company now. But they were courting me for a publishing deal, and the terms didn't work out. And I'll never forget it. She was like, "Listen, just because the deal didn't work doesn't mean I don't believe in you. I believe you're going places, so good luck wherever you're going." And I thought, what a refreshing thing from all the horror stories I've heard come out of this town. And thirdly, I'd say probably Chris Lacey, who is probably one of the sole reasons we have a partnership with Warner Music Nashville.
Wow. Thank you for that. All right, I'm going to throw my Zoom ball to Aubrey Davenport. Aubrey, are you standing by? Remember to hit that mute button. I'm going to throw the Zoom ball to you. It's a great catch.
All right, can you hear me? What would you be doing if you weren't a country superstar right now?
I don't know. And honestly, I really don't even want to think about that. I was telling one of my friends the other day, I was like, you know, I've got all these plans for the future, you know, investments in different companies and trying to set my family up, but I never really thought about a backup plan. Like I told you, don't do what I did. Go to college, kids. I didn't really have a backup plan. The only job that I ever had was working at the prison system. And I mean, I guess there's never going to be a shortage of jobs for that. But, you know, honestly, I'd probably either be working on a ranch or in law enforcement.
Cool. Cody, do you really have a home near Forestburg, Texas? Is that true?
No, I've got my 150-acre place near Huntsville.
Okay. I thought we used to be neighbors or something. Okay, never mind. Thank you for that great question, Aubrey. Throw it back to me. Well, and I'm going to throw it to Michelle right now. Michelle, over to you with Coach O. Mute button.
Working on it.
Oh, I can only see so many people up here.
Okay. Hi.
Hey, now I can see you.
I heard you, when you were younger, you were into acting.
I was. My manager's standing over here off camera, so I'll just go ahead and throw this on his shoulder. I want another acting job. I'd like to get back into acting. Whenever I first joined Groveton High School my freshman year, and my English teacher, Dorothy Kennedy, asked me if I'd like to be in theater, and I was like, no, man, I'm bull rider and I ain't getting into theater. I'm not no sissy. And she was like, well, I've got this role and it's in this play about the Civil War. And I think that you would be great for the star character and you get to kiss a girl. And I was like, of course, I love theater. I'm totally in. And I signed up for theater just because I got to kiss the girl. And I wound up really enjoying it. It was really fun to get to play somebody else and get to, portray feelings and try to kind of put that on. And I think it kind of came back to help me later in my career with songwriting, because in songwriting you have to play a character in your head in order for it to be convincing. So I think that really stuck with me. And like I said, any of you Taylor Sheridan with Yellowstone, throw me a part, man.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, have you tweeted Yellowstone, or had your manager who's sitting right by you directly right now tweet the casting director of Yellowstone and get Cody on? What about your music? Certainly, has any of your music been featured on Yellowstone at all? Not yet. I'm just saying, preach, preach, preach. The only thing is, I could probably saddle a horse quicker than I can send a tweet, so we'll leave that up to. All right, great question. Let's go. Casey Johnson, you're on with Kojo. Great catch.
Hello. We wanted to ask, what was the best advice you've ever been given?
I've been given a lot of great advice. Fortunately, coming from Texas, you have guys like Kevin Fowler and Roger Krager, and Aaron Watson. I could keep going for 10 minutes on every one of these guys that has sat me down over the years. Wade Bowen, Corey Morrow, I could keep going, but they've all sat me down and told me, career-wise, as far as business goes, these are some mistakes I made. Don't make those mistakes. On stage or in my career having to do with music and my perception, these are some mistakes I made. Don't make those mistakes, man. We believe in you. And I think that, a lot of kids that have talent might be a little bit too caught up in themselves to really listen to that kind of stuff. And so I think one of the benefits that I've had was somehow I was teachable enough that I listened, and a lot of that stuff stuck with me over the years. But some of the greatest advice I've really been given outside of that realm would be Gary LeFew, world champion bull rider from way back in the day. He told me, he said, remain in a constant state of positive expectancy and place the kind of men around you that you want to be like. And that's always worked for me.
Thank you.
Wow. Vision it coming to you, right? Constantly. Nothing but positivity.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to the negative a lot.
Yeah.
When I'm serious. Like whenever I say that, like I know the things that are going on in the world right now, and it's very horrible. But I'm not going to allow that to affect my world. In my world, there is no hate, there is no unrest. I choose to focus on the positive.
Great question. Throw it back, Casey. Oh, look at that. Allie. On with Cody Johnson. There you go.
He said, there you go.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. I actually don't have a question, but I wanted to say you're 33 years old and you have 7 sound albums, and 6 of them are from Kojo label, and I find that to be amazing. And also how you were in a band with your dad and things like that. Like, that's amazing that you've come so far and you're so young.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Honestly, I think that stuff like that only comes from an unwillingness to back down. I saw the Army uniform. I'd like to say thank you for your service, sir. I appreciate you. And I feel like that people that are in the military or that have rodeoed, that have had to, or law enforcement, that have had to put themselves in situations where backing down is not an option. In my mind, from an athletic standpoint, that's the way I look at it. You never back down. You never quit. You never take no for an answer. You always try to outwork the other guy. But realistically, it just boils down to work ethic. How bad do you want something? How bad do you want your dream? How long are you willing to suffer? How hard are you willing to suffer for what you want? And I feel like that, there's a lot lost on some of the younger generations below me, that there's this sense of entitlement of something's owed to them or something's owed to me. And that's just not the case in the real world. If you want something, you got to go out and bust your butt to get it. And, hard work outdoes talent, in my opinion, 9 times out of 10.
I mean, Cody, you're right. I mean, there's so many kids, even young artists. You know, my son, he's 18 years old. He's one of them. They really believe, they all have this sort of this false perception that they're going to be, you know, famous because they're, you know, because they're going to, you know, hit it big on TikTok or something like that. They don't realize the importance of pounding that pavement. You know, it's grind every day, isn't it?
That's right. And, you know, it doesn't stop either. You know, people, I've had some really weird questions over the last 2 or 3 years of like, what's it like now that you've made it? And I'm like, what? We ain't made it yet. This is the tip of the iceberg. We got a long way to go.
All right. I'm going to go to Tyler Gibbs. Tyler, on with Cody Johnson. Oh.
All right. So I got a question. Whether it's for like your wife or anything like that, is there a song that you wish you would have written instead of somebody else that you just heard and you're like, I wish I wrote that song, you know?
Oh, man. Can I say the Travis Denning song? Can I even name it?
After a few?
No, it's not out yet.
Oh yeah.
Travis Denning.
Yeah, you can't name it. It's not out.
I guess I can't really say like, so it's called, I can say the title, right?
I wish I would have.
It's called I'm Gonna Love You. And that's all I can say. But when I heard this song, I was like, first of all, I was like, please let me record this. And he was like, no. And that really sucked. But anyway, it's a great song. That was the last thing that I heard that I was like, man, I really wished I would have wrote that. I really do. That and Ashley McBride's Room Key.
What about, by the way, that was a great question. What about, stemming from that question, a song that's currently on the radio right now, mainstream country radio? Is there a song out there that's kind of stuck in your head?
I mean, no, not really. I've heard Ashley McBride's Room Key about 40 times here locally in the past 24 hours. I've been listening, trying to see if I can hear my single on the radio, and Ashley's getting all the airplay. No, but it's a good song. I wish I'd have wrote it.
Are you talking about Dear Rodeo?
No, I'm talking about is that the name of the song? Room Key? Room Key by Ashley McBride.
All right, let me scroll through here. Hang on. Hang on. Oh, somebody's getting their hands up right there. I'm going to go to Aaron right now. Hang on. Aaron and crew standing by on the couch. There you go.
I saw them up there.
Can you hear us?
Oh, there you are.
You can hear us now?
Yep.
The question we have is, I got 5 kiddos here, and any advice, you are pretty young, I know, but any advice other than going to college that you would kiddos?
Don't be afraid.
Not that I'm against college, because I'm totally for
I was never college material. Like I understand business and I understand finance and things that people need to get through life. Thankfully, somehow I do. But I was never really I didn't feel comfortable in a classroom. I felt comfortable out, more or less banging my head around and banging my knuckles up against stuff to learn life. And that works for some people. So I guess my advice would be, don't be afraid to chase a dream. If it's as simple as wanting a 9-to-5 job that you come home to your family and you get to spend more time. If it's your dream is to be in the military and to go and do tours in overseas. If your dream is to be a star on TV, I don't think that you should give up on a dream for any reason, because you kids are growing up in a generation where a lot of what you're supposed to do and a lot of what you're supposed to think is determined by people on social media. Listen to me. Do not take what people think about you on social media. Don't take that to heart at all, ever. The only negative opinions that are shared on social media are by people who are really and truly uncomfortable with themselves. And that is the reality of it. I think you should focus on what you want to do, what makes you happy, what fulfills your heart, what you really feel like God's put you on this planet to do, and don't let other people's opinion affect you.
Coach O for Senate.
Awesome. Thank you.
I don't want that job.
You don't want it?
No, I don't want to be. Man, if I was in politics, we'd have some problems.
Thank you, Aaron, for that. To Anthony. Here we go. Anthony. Whew. There you go. Oh, don't hear you. We still don't hear you.
I think their thing's off.
Uh-oh, still don't hear you.
Is it the Chris Ledoux mic like she's wearing?
Okay, well, while you're trying to get that one, we couldn't hear you, Anthony. So maybe figure out the mic. We're going to go to Aunt Claire. Woo! Aunt Claire.
I might get the echo because I'm in the same room with Fitz. So, you mentioned you could saddle a horse faster than you could send a tweet. Can you remember the first time, maybe you were a little kid, that you rode a horse, and describe that horse and what that felt like?
I remember being little, and my dad was the assistant dog sergeant at the Terrell. Well, it's the Polunsky unit now in Livingston, Texas. And I used to go over there whenever I was a kid, and sometimes with him, and he'd put me on his horse and lead me around and stuff. And it was just it was a cool thing. My dad, when he worked for the prison system, he went to work with a gun belt and chaps, and it was kind of like the old school. It looked like the old school, what you would picture out of a Texas Ranger or something like that. So
Yeah.
I think that's I remember more about Dad than I did actually riding around on a horse.
That's cool. Cool memory.
Good question. Over to Drew.
Oh, here we go.
Drew, you're on with Cody Johnson.
I know I was going to ask a horse question as well. Claire stole my thunder, but I was going to say, Cody, you can settle a dispute for Fitz and I, because I have never ridden a horse. I do a lot of country stuff, but I've never ridden a horse. Can I be country? Or is that like the bare minimum bar for considering yourself country?
No. I think there's a big difference between country and cowboy. I think that line has been skewed and ridden over the years in country music. But there's a lot of guys like over the years, like Tim McGraw, Kenny Chesney, who wore cowboy hats that never tried to be cowboys. You know what I mean? I don't think it has anything to do with being country. It is funny though, because I know a lot of my friends that they get on a horse once a year, and it's pretty fun.
Like read out your qualifications.
Yeah, you got to tease them about something. You know what I mean? But like I said, listen, if you ever want to make fun of me, just try to get me to turn on a computer, and 30 minutes later, yeah, I'm serious. Y'all laugh. I didn't. These are not jokes. This is real life.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. I lost all sound. I lost all.
All right, you got me now?
Okay,
there we
yeah,
go.
I got you.
Is there, I know you did Deer Rodeo with Reba. Is there another collaboration that you would just dream of doing right now? Do you already have one in mind for maybe 2021?
Maybe I already have one.
Oh, come on, bring it. I
can't tell you what song. That's the only problem, and it's probably not going to be a single. But I got to do a Willie Nelson duet.
What?
Get out!
Yeah.
But you got to wait.
I'll play it.
You gotta wait. It's not coming out till we have a little work to do. We've got 3 or 4 songs left to cut on this album. Actually, within the next couple of weeks, we're gonna be recording here in Texas with my band, recording the last couple of songs, and it's a big project. We're going out of this year and leading into the new year with trying to get a #1 single out of Deer Rodeo. We're gonna have, obviously, we've got the Reba duet. We've got an acoustic version of the song that's gonna come out. We have a 2-hour full-length documentary that we're wrapping around Deer Rodeo. It's kind of the story of most of the questions you asked, the story of my life, where I come from, and the struggles and the not-so-good times that nobody's really ever heard me talk about. And I think it's pretty inspirational. I'm pretty excited. But this new album's pretty much already in the bag. We're just waiting now. So I've been at work. You don't give a guy like me 6 months off and expect something not to come out.
Well, we can't wait for that material. And speaking of, as I'm, looking at CodyJohnsonMusic.com and looking at all the, the tour dates, right? And you see, obviously because of the coronavirus, cancel. Is that kind of what it is? Are you just sort of waiting from your people for the update that says, all right, you know what, when we give you the go, it's a go, right? Is it just a waiting game?
I don't think there's a green light in this deal. I don't think there's going to be all right, go back. There's a lot of social unrest because of issues. There's a lot of COVID-19 issues. There's a lot of election issues. There's things that this country, much like a marriage, between two people are going to have to work it out. Anybody that's ever been married, I've been married for 10 years this December, and my wife and I have had some fights over the years, and we've had some disconnect. But you got to work it out. And I feel like that's what American people are best at, is reinvention. I do feel like, though, that this is not going to be a green light. Okay, it's all done. There will be places in the following 6-8 months to where there still may be social unrest. There still may be issues being worked out. There's also going to be places where that doesn't exist. That's the hardest part for me watching the news right now, is because in the little tiny speck on the map where I live, none of that exists. Like, absolutely zero of it exists where I live. So it's really hard for me to watch the news and relate, because
wow.
There's no hate, there's no fear and anxiety where I live. It's just a little country town, and I really enjoy that. But I think what's going to happen is there's going to be places where we get to go back to work. There will be places where we won't for a little while, and that's okay. As long as we're getting to go back to work, as long as I'm getting to give you guys music, it'll eventually go back to normal. And trust me when I say, have fun keeping up with me when we do.
Well, you know what? I can assure you we are, because you have fans right here. We thank you for all the time today, man. You know what? The fact that you're doing this and continuing to show love to country radio and your fans, everybody with us today, they got some lunch. We've been so excited about this, promoting it, on the radio station. And you're just such a fun and great interview. Seriously. What are you doing the rest of the day?
Nothing. I've got a few more things here to do at the studio, and then I'm going to put out deer feeders. I'm just being honest.
Yeah, you're gonna get some corn. Corn? What are you doing?
On my 50-acre place, we're actually in the process of getting 40 more. We're trying to do a big high fence ranch and start raising whitetails, and we've fed protein all year long, and now we're switching over to corn. And my favorite thing is taking my 5-year-old and 3-year-old little girl and putting them in the deer stand and making way too much noise and scaring all the deer off. So here's what it is.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is Cody Johnson. Kojo, we love what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing for country music, and we can't wait for more of it.
You bet. Thank all of y'all. I appreciate you sticking with me.
Back at you. Cody Johnson.